Have you ever spent tons of time curling your hair just to have it fall flat in an hour? Well, this video is for you. I'm going to show you how to curl your hair and have it stay. Stay tuned and we'll get right into it. I am going to give you 6 easy tips on how to keep those curls from falling flat. So tip number 1, the biggest thing is prepping your hair. If you are going to be curling your hair after it has been freshly shampooed or washed, you need to make sure you are adding product to your hair. A great product to use would be a mousse. This one in particular is a mousse gel, but make sure you're using the correct product for your hair type. So someone who has finer hair, a mousse is great because it's not going to weigh your hair down. If you have thicker hair and it needs a little bit more grit to it, maybe you need to use a gel. A tip within the tip is also make sure you are sectioning your hair. Sectioning is super important so you're not grabbing too large of sections. One thing that I notice with people when they are doing or curling their hair, they don't like to section because it takes way too long. And if you're not sectioning your hair, you're getting too big of sections and that will create limp, lifeless curls. So make sure you're doing those sections. The sections should not be larger than your curling iron. So make sure you're creating smaller sections if you want to have tighter curls. That leads us into tip number 2. Pick the correct size of curling iron. If your hair does not hold curl, sometimes you need to go smaller with your curling iron than what you are actually thinking in your head. If you like those big bouncy curls and your hair doesn't hold a curl, you need to go smaller. You need to use a tighter, smaller curl for your hair because it's gonna loosen up. So, for example, I personally love my hair when I curl it with roughly about 1.5 inches curling iron or 1.25 inches. So if my hair doesn't hold curl very well, I'm gonna go with 1 inch curling iron, which is a smaller curling iron than what I would normally pick. Yes, it might be tight at first, but remember your hair does not hold onto curl, so it's gonna soften up on its own, but you will still have curl left since you didn't go too big. Tip number 3, and this is a big one that people forget or skip. I love working spray. Working spray is very similar to hairspray. This particular one is a flexible hold thermal spray. So it kind of kills 2 birds with 1 stone. It's going to work on creating a barrier on your hair that protects your hair from your curling iron or a flat iron, whatever you decide to use when you're curling your hair, but it also is going to give your hair a tiny bit more hold to it. So when you are curling it, it's not gonna loosen up that curl if you didn't have any hairspray or working spray on your hair. This one is by Kenra. As always, I'll link everything down below in the description box. If you want to purchase or get something similar to this, I will have some options down below. So this is not going to be a curling tutorial. If you want to see a curling tutorial on how to create beachy waves on your hair, I'll link it up above so that way you can see that video, but I am gonna kind of show you what I mean. So you're gonna take your working spray, also a thermal protectant, and you are going to spray each section. So I'm gonna spray all of my hair all over. And since this is a working spray, it is not going to be stiff. So I can still run my hands through my hair and it's not sticky like hairspray is. Now you're gonna grab your section, and the section, if you do not want your curls to fall out, you need to make it roughly the same width as your curling iron. So if I was to grab this super large section, as you can see, it's roughly about 2 inches, but my curling iron's 1 inch. This section may be too big when I'm curling my hair. So break that section in half so it's closer to the same width as your curling iron, and then you're gonna curl over the top of that section. Do not be afraid to take smaller sections when your hair doesn't hold a curl. If you guys are liking what you are seeing so far, now is a perfect time to hit that thumbs up button, or if you haven't done so yet, hit the red subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my new up and coming videos. I greatly appreciate all your guys' support. Now let's get back to our hair curling tips. One really big mistake that I see for people who complain about their curls falling out is going to be my tip number 4. After you are done curling your section, try not to touch it. You want that curl that you just did to cool off. If you instantly run your hands through it, you pull that curling iron out and the section is still warm and you start running your hands through it, that is going to soften up that curl and it might be causing your curls to start falling quicker than they should. Do not forget, when you are letting down your next section, spray on that working spray, thermal spray on that section because that is super, super important. Also, just as important as tip number 5, after you curl your section and you have already sprayed that working spray on your hair, you pull that hair out and you are letting that curl cool off. You are going to use now a setting hairspray or a finishing spray, your typical hairspray, and you are going to spray your section. Let that curl completely cool all the way. You're not going to run your hands through it at all, but this is going to completely set that curl since it is a finishing hairspray. Once you have finished curling your hair, doing it section by section, taking those smaller sections, you're gonna give one more spray with your finishing spray all over. Let that set on the hair so it completely dries, and then you are just going to shake your curls out. You may have seen people using a pick or a wide tooth comb or even their fingers to break up those curls. But if you are struggling with keeping the curls in your hair, that might be too much and it might be what's pulling those curls out of your hair. So tip number 6 is just shake it out. Shake out those curls, let those curls sit. You can take your fingers and break it up just a little bit so you don't have those Shirley Temple looking curls. And this will make it so your curls last longer. When you touch your hair too much or you're running your hands through your hair, that is really hard on those curls if you struggle with keeping curls. So just shake it out. Again, like I said, it might seem tight at the very beginning or when you first finish curling your hair, but if you want these curls to last longer than a day, this tip is very important to keep those curls in your hair longer than an hour. I hope you guys love these 6 tips. Hopefully it helps you so you do not have to struggle when it's time to curl your hair. And this honestly is the best way to keep those curls longer on really soft or hard to curled hair. If you guys end up using any of these tips and you see that they work for you, do not hesitate to come back and leave me a comment to share that it has worked. And if you end up having any more tips for any of the rest of the Hair Lounge community, don't hesitate, put them down in the comment box below. I love to hear what you have found that has worked on your hair. Again, thank you so much for watching. Go hit that red subscribe button if you haven't done so yet, and we'll see you guys all next time. Bye-bye.